Well, good morning, everyone. This is John Craig, and you are listening to our show, Let Us Reason Together. I'm your second day of the week host for Let Us Reason Together. It's based off of Isaiah 118. Come now and let us reason together. It says Yahweh, though your sins are as scarlet, they will be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they will be like wool. And we have a cat fight going on in our house right now. Actually, they're just playing. But if you're hearing some cats in the background, they are having a little bit of fun. And in fact, they both go at each other. So if you hear that going on today, that's what it is. But this is where we sit down and reason out current events, cultural shifts, and of course, this week's Torah portion. We can either push back or push through. Nevertheless, if iron does not sharpen iron, sparks will never fly, let alone ever get a fire going. And without a little heat and a good midrash, how will our hearts ever get soft and moldable enough to be transformed in the way that the Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, wants us to be, and maybe have a little fun along the way? We're going to have some fun this morning. So I'm telling my wife, we're gonna have some fun this morning. So as you can see, joining us right here so far, I've got my wife, Miss Sandi Craig. Good morning. And I've got Joe Cameron on the other side of the states, joining me from the great state of Ohio. Good morning, Joe.
Dude, good morning.
There you go. And we'll have James Myers from South Carolina. He'll be joining us here shortly. So we've got this thing going. And you want to stick with us on this show. Give us a thumbs up if you like it along the way. Just pass it along on your social media. We can get those algorithms going for us. But also, you're going to want to stick around. We've got some good things we want to discuss today. But in the meantime, while we're talking about that, we'd love to see you in the chat room and be part of the conversation there. We'd love to have you. And let's talk about what today is. So today is buying sunglasses day.
I'm surprised you didn't wear your sunglasses.
I didn't bring my sunglasses in. I need to buy new sunglasses. I really need to, because I've been wearing one with one thing on one side, and the other one has about this much left on this side because the whole arm broke off. So it presses into my temple there. And
is that what the problem is?
That's why. That's my excuse this week. I have temple issues. But in the meantime, so buy sunglasses day. It's also koala day.
Oh,
koala day, and it's striped socks day. You know what? Striped socks. I don't have striped socks on today because you know why? I'm doing a Mark David.
I can't believe that. Look at those little chicken legs.
There we go. I'm doing a Mark David Smith thing. I'm wearing. No, wait a minute. I'm not. Wait a minute. I'm not.
What this to do is raise our feet up
because they right here. That right there, that's not what Mark does. Mark wears socks with his sandals. I've seen him do that. So that's my story. I'm sticking with it.
I've seen you wear socks with yours too, so don't even go there.
So today you can wear striped socks with your sandals if you want. But actually, it's kind of warm. Well, it's not warm this morning. It should get warmer later.
The low was 60 last night. It's warm.
It was kind of chilly this morning when I came in. So, all right. It's because of my temple.
No, it's not.
You say it's all in my head?
Yeah, it is.
Well, let's put it this way.
See, Joe agrees. Yeah.
It's in my head and I'm trying to get out.
What? You're trying to get out of your head?
Let me out. I hear voices. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about Murphy's Law Day. It's Murphy's Law Day. So if anything can go wrong.
No, don't you even
If anything can go wrong.
No.
Talk to Murphy.
No, thank you.
We are not speaking that over our home or the people.
That's right. So we're bypassing that. We're scrolling up.
I can't believe if I didn't stop you, you would have said it. You would have pronounced a curse over everyone that's listening, including me.
I have control.
Again, if I had stopped you, you would have said it.
So
I need to check the chat room and see if they have anything to say about that.
Let's move on to the next thing that we're celebrating today. It's Waxing Philosophically Day. Waxing Philosophically Day. Well, we talk about Murphy.
So no. What you just put in my mind is wax on, wax off. Very philosophical.
There we go. That's right. There's a purpose to everything. There's a reason for this madness. That's why we wear striped socks with sandals and wear sunglasses. Okay, get some sunglasses. Get some sunglasses like Elton John has always had some big weird sunglasses. Okay, all right. Moving right along. How about this? It's also Chimborazo Day, whatever that is. It's Impersonate Authority Day. Impersonate authority. I don't recommend that. Like if you were going to go put on a police officer's uniform, I have an impersonation of authority day type of event. This is a true story, Joe. And Sandi walked out, so she's not going to hear this story. There's this bridge. I'm going to tell you about this bridge. There's a bridge that spans from Mobile, Alabama, and it goes all the way across. There we go.
You're wearing my sunglasses.
Cool, dude.
All right. I got bling on it too. Got some
now
bling going.
I'm thinking of that song. I wear my sunglasses at night.
I wear my sunglasses at night.
So I can.
So I can.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to tell you this time that I impersonated authority. So
you impersonated authority?
I did. I never told you this story.
I need to study. I don't know that I can listen.
Okay. So this friend of mine that I met, a camp counselor over near Mena, Arkansas. And it was a Camp Ozark. That was the name of the camp. So you can look it up. You say, yeah, there really is. It's really a beautiful place, gorgeous place. Well, he was one of my co-counselors for like half of the camp. And he was he's a paramedic, ambulance driver. He told me all these paramedic stories. And so he said, hey, come down to my place down in Daphne, Alabama. And after camp, and I said, okay, that's cool. We'll do that. And so we went down there, hung out for a while, and we went to a hardware store or something like that. Maybe it was a convenience store, and they had one of those flashing lights, you know, that flash blue and red that you can plug into your cigarette lighter. And this is like high tech. You stick it up on your dash, that type of thing. And you stick it up on your roof, you know. And so he said, let's do this. It was my last day. I was leaving. He said, let's do this. This is a 10-mile bridge or something like that. You people that live down in Mobile, you'll know. And you know about this. It spans this bay, and it's like long. I think it is 10 miles. And he says it's no man's land. It's no one's jurisdiction. So this is what we're going to do. He said, I'm going to put the light on my dash. And he had this souped up Camaro with a police engine in it. And I had a little Dodge Rampage and a little half truck, half car type of thing. He says, I'm going to chase you across the bridge with the light on, and people will see the light, and they'll know that I'm chasing you. And let's just have some fun to go across the bridge. I'm like, okay. And so I did, and he did. And I passed a sheriff, and I got pulled over. And you know what that sheriff did? And then my friend comes up to me. He says, don't say a word. I'll handle it. I'll handle it. I'm like, oh no. Okay, whatever. So the sheriff comes up and he says, you know what you're doing, you're speeding across this bridge, you need to slow it down. So my friend comes up, he says, I'm a paramedic. I saw this guy. He just blew the stop sign back there, almost hit a lady pushing a child across the corner, and I'm chasing him down. And he made up all of this big story. And the sheriff deputy just said this. He said, I don't know about any of that, but just slow it down. This is back in the day when the speed limit was 55 miles an hour. Impersonating authority day. That's my story. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't mess with it. All right. Okay. But that's what today is observed. I don't understand why they observe it that way, but there you go. There's my story. Sticking to it. Yeah, those crazy things that we do in our youth.
Yeah, don't do that against your parents either.
After that experience, I drove 55 miles an hour all the way back to Oklahoma. That's where we were living at the time. All the way back.
Did you get scared?
Were
you scared straight?
No, I was actually totally convicted. I had just come to the Lord. You just got saved. I just got saved. I was like totally convicted. I was like, that was really wrong. And even, it was just all wrong.
You were 19 when you said, hey, Father, I surrender.
I did.
Jesus, Yeshua.
There you go.
You said Jesus. Jesus, come into my heart.
I did. I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
So anyway, there you go. That's my authority day. How about Love Conquers All Day? Love conquers all. How about this? National Thank God It's Monday. Do you ever want to say that? Thank God it's Monday. They say it. Thank God it's Friday. Thank God it's Monday.
I'm sorry. My mind is still on the information you gave me right before the show started.
All right. So we can talk about that and have a chocolate macaroon because it's National Chocolate Macaroon Day. Sounds good. How about National Egg Day or National Itch Day? Does it really say that? Yeah, it says National Itch Day.
And so what did you just do when you did this, John?
I was itching.
That's scratching. It's one of the things he says, I'm itching myself. Like you're scratching yourself.
I made itch into a verb. Okay. All right. National Leave the Office Early Day. I left early. I left the office early. You never came home last time. I left the office at 7:10 this morning. Okay, how about this? It's National Fragrance. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot. I skipped some. It's Repeat Day. Repeat. Did we just lose us? I think we're on. Because I just saw us. No, it says we're on. I think we're on. We're good. All right. And our picture just. It's. We see Joe. We see Joe's picture. Hey, let us know in the chat room. Are we on? Oh, there we are. There we go. I don't know why it does that. That's weird. It is weird. Okay, and then it's World Club Day. Here's some things going on this week. America the Beautiful Week, Healthcare Executives Appreciation Week, National Fragrance Week, National Hair Awareness Week, Pet Appreciation Day, a week, Pet Parents Week, Teacher Thank You Week, going on this month, National Fishing and Birdie Month, Adopt a Cat Month. If you can't see her, I mean, right there. There's a cat right there. She's adopted. All right. All our animals were. All of our animals were adopted. And Children's Awareness Month and Filthy Fly Month. You know what a good fly is worth? Is best? No, tell me, Mr. Craig. Dead. Dead. There you go. I just got the mind the Fly on Racing Stripes. You know that little movie that Jonathan watched when he was a little kid, where that fly talked. Yeah. How's that? Okay, all right. I remember how fly sounds. Okay, daily quotes for today. Positive of the month from Mohandas Gandhi. Strength does not come from city. Indomitable. That every time morning. Okay. Leaning back when they are having trouble, and it's
blurry. We came back when for some reason we stopped and we came back blurry.
Oh, and
I'm not sure what the issue is. Just sorry to interlow.
yeah. All right. For some reason, I can't.
And it's warbled.
Okay. I wonder why.
It says that it's not clear. I mean, we're fine before, and now it seems like there's issues.
All right. So I am taking myself off of the. My phone was on the internet, so let's pull that. Look at my connection here on my phone.
It's very, look at that. It's very bad.
Look at that.
It makes me wonder what we should do. Because that's not going to get a quality program.
It's not. Well, this is clear, so I know the camera, it's going to be our bandwidth.
No, something happened because we went off and now we're back on. Anyway, I have no idea. I have no idea, buddy. We're trying to figure it out. So
bear with us.
I guess we're not trying to figure. They were going off again. We're going off one. It looks like.
What is that?
Yeah,
Because we're going off.
You're glitching, even on my end. I can hear maybe every other word, and you're very blurry.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna work that out real quick. We just oh, you know what's going on? Okay, I have a solution. I have a solution, and we're gonna fix it. And it was my fault. And we're gonna plug in right here.
And we will be right back after John plugs everything in.
There we go. There we go.
Let's see if that helps. It might not help.
All right, let's see if that clears things up a little bit.
Well, we're still off.
Are we connected?
Yeah. And you're
no, it's
lagging.
still glitchy.
You're like froze.
Okay.
You're frozen.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm making noises here because.
Ooh, ooh, ah, ah, ah.
All right. Are we back?
Hey, is that better, guys?
It looks clearer on the YouTube, and it looks clearer on my end too.
Okay. All right then.
Hopefully that's solved.
There we go. All right. Thank you all for your patience. So we're just going to move on though. So I just talked about the quote of the indomitable will. All right. How about funny quote of the day? I spent a year in that town one Sunday. Did you get that?
What? I wasn't listening.
I spent a year in that town one Sunday.
That makes no sense.
That's from George Burns.
Huh.
Some people thought he was funny. So love quote of the day. How about this? Love quote of the day. This is from a movie. It's A Wonderful Life. And it says, I didn't want to marry anybody else in town. I want my baby to look like you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's sweet. All right. How about verse of the day? This is coming from the Brit Hadashah of this week's Torah portion from Matthew 4:4. But he answered and said, that's talking about Yeshua, it is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God, out of the mouth of Yah. Isn't that good? I think that's the best quote of the day for today. How about what happened on this day in history? Colin Whipple. Do you know who Colin Whipple is? In 1856, he patents a machine for making screws. That's pretty cool. Because did you know that before screws, all they had were, like fasteners, nails, different type of things, but nothing. Screws are great. I just have to say that. It's just a great invention. Thank you, Colin Whipple. And then in 1918, yes, the U.S. Supreme Court in Hammer versus Dagenhart rules child labor laws unconstitutional. That was 1918. 1943. Did you ever hear about this? a mob of 60, and this is probably one of the negative things in our nation, but I wanted to bring it up because we need to understand things that have happened in history so that we don't repeat these things. A mob of 60 from Los Angeles Naval Reserve Armory beat up everyone perceived to be Hispanic, starting the week-long Zoot Suit riots. Did you ever hear about the Zoot Suit riots? Isn't that horrible? Anybody that was perceived to be Hispanic, they beat up. A mob of 60. Crazy. How about this? 1979. Do you remember this? Iztok 1 rig in the Gulf of Mexico. It blew and it spilled 3 million barrels of oil in one of the worst oil spills in history, as opposed to the one where they like breached the crack in the crust of the earth. But that's a whole nother. And that was what was it? The deep something horizon. I don't know. Something like that. That was a really bad oil spill because I think it's still leaking. But they don't talk about that anymore. And in 1989, on this day, it was the beginning of the Tiananmen Square massacre as Chinese troops opened fire on pro-democracy supporters in Beijing. Yeah, it just seems like almost like yesterday that happened, but that was like, what 30 years ago? That's a big deal. And they still are silencing those people that want to have a voice in China. In fact, they actually have social scoring now, that if you speak out against the government, whatever, you drop your social score. And get this, if you're in China and you are walking down the street and you stop to have a conversation with somebody that has a lower social score than yours, it'll immediately affect your own social score.
So they say you can't speak to people then.
Essentially, that's right, because the people that are above you in social score is not going to want to talk to you because it's going to drop their social score. I mean,
who cares?
And you drop your social score, it means you can't travel. You might not be able to get a job. You might not, or you get lower paying job, lower skilled jobs, all that type of thing. You might not get an apartment, or you're going to have to live in the slums or whatever it is. That's what the social score is all built on. And with facial recognition, which China really leads the way in facial recognition, is they just connect everything. There's cameras on everything and anything. And everybody, and your social score is connected with your facial recognition, and it's all connected together. And it's really a sad thing. And that's what they're trying to bring to America, actually, to the world, is the social scoring.
It's just considered you're a number. You're not a person anymore. You're just a number.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So the best thing to do is, think about this. That could even affect your marriage. You know, who you marry. If I'm not going to marry you because it's going to drop my social score, and I'm not going to be able to take the train or fly or go anywhere. I mean, think of that. Those are some really serious ethical issues that are all tied to that social scoring. And is to control the people, the authoritarian. You wonder at what point in time will the people rise up and say no more, and if they will ever even be able to. Of course, in Tiananmen Square, they tried to do that, and many of them just lost their lives, were thrown in prison because of that. So how about this? In 1992, Joan London ordered to pay her ex-husband $18,000 a month for support. Wow. Talk about alimony. That's some serious money. How about this? In 2018, I had to throw this one in as well because I thought this was really amazing. It's sad. Okay. So just brace yourself. But it says a dead whale was found, and it was found with 17 pounds of plastic in its stomach.
So sad. That
was over in Thailand. 17 pounds. That's 80 pieces of plastic was in this whale's stomach. They say out there in the Pacific Ocean, there's like just massive, it's like a massive island of floating garbage, trash, plastic that's is accumulated, and it just has formed an island of that junk out there. So
and the sad thing is, it's not all from the United States. And so many people here in the United States thinks it's all us. It's from Mexico, it's from Russia, and the currents bring it all into that area, and it's so sad. It really is
So
sad.
sad.
You think about it, because even the West Coast of the United States, which is very liberal, but they are also have been, they're the ones that are, supposed to be recycling, that type of thing. You would think that there's not a lot coming off of the West Coast, but you know what? It's just garbage and it's trash and it accumulates out there. But there's other nations that are less conscientious about being. I'm not an environmentalist, I would say, as much as a conservationist. I really think we should protect and be good stewards over what God's given us. And so, but these type of things are not so conscientious from other countries. I mean, we're kind of hypersensitive in this nation about things like that, but trash is just thrown out. It's not taken care of. You can go to other countries and it's just trashy. But get this, you can now go to Los Angeles and Portland, San Francisco, and it is a mess. They've got trash piling up, covered with rats that are carrying plague and
why is that?
Other diseases, because these social policies.
It's not just LA. It's traveling down towards the San Diego area. My family lives in the San Diego County, and it's starting to get bad even there. It's really, really bad.
But now let's look at this, and let's look at what's happened to the culture. And that's not only because of the leftist policies, but the culture is being inundated from cultures that are not that just toss the trash. They don't take care of their trash and put it in the right places and that type of thing. They've not been brought up that way, and now we've invited them by the hundreds of thousands.
But there's laws against that.
There are laws, but you know what? Their culture is trash. I mean,
do something about it.
Yeah, if you go, I was raised in Southern California. When you go past the border to Tijuana, Mexico, it is really horrific. And in fact, we have a lot of times where the oceans, you can't even go swimming in, like the San Diego beaches, because of the fecal matter content, because they dump their fecal matter into the ocean. And right now we have the issue of them being bombarded by all these people trying to get across the border. So imagine how much sewage they have. Well, they just now are dealing with that again, where people cannot. And this is the time of year that all the tourists come to go swimming, and beaches are closed because of it.
Wow, that's disgusting. Yeah. And that's just, people don't even realize the issue.
Yeah.
And
so if a government does that, you think their people are not going to be like that as well?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you think about the government. In fact, the governments of South America, Central America, and even other nations in the world, because they're catching people from the Congo, they're from China, from all different countries are coming up. But what are they doing? They're encouraging these people to come because they're kind of coming from the social welfare class, and they're saying, we can't take care of you, so go on to America. Let America take care of you.
We're doing our news story?
Not yet, but nevertheless, actually has nothing to do with. But these are really important topics. These are good reasons for the midrash, and
absolutely, I'm not arguing that. It is. It's
and
just
these
sad.
are things that we're faced with, and this is why we need to be encouraging President Trump to continue with his plan to build the wall, to continue to go and work whatever he needs to do with Congress, go around Congress,
also
whatever,
remove those that are illegally here already.
Yeah, and deal with this, because it's not helping anybody. Think about the low skilled workers in America that were already here. Those that are here legally are now fighting and competing with jobs, and the price of those jobs, the wages of those jobs are being driven down because of this inflooding of low skilled workers coming into the nation. It's a competition, and we're forgetting about our very own. And you think about, well, these leftists in Congress, they have no concern for the people. They're only looking for their own welfare and the people that are like them. So
well, we got to slap the companies too that take them and hire them. I used to work for a landscape company, and the legal guys got $3 more than the illegals. they got paid under the table cash, and they got hardly anything to really live off of, and they're being exploited. And that's the sad thing, is we got companies that are exploiting these people as well.
Yes.
And they need to be slapped. They need to be slapped with a fine.
Well, and I agree with that. And we also need to take in consideration that those companies that are even Fortune 500 companies, because of technocracy and what's really truly fascism, when corporate world gets together with government, they're the ones that are supporting those people that are in the power to make the laws. They're actually encouraging this type of activity, whether it's from Congress, whether it's from the businesses. It's all of it working together, and it's all about the money. That's exactly what it is. So we the people have the voice, though. It's our government, and it goes the way we want it to go. So let's move on and talk about the famous birthdays today. There's just one I wanted to bring up today, and it's Jefferson Davis. Do you know who Jefferson Davis is?
Yes, and we proved that we're not sure about that.
Okay. All right. So Jefferson Davis was the president of the Confederate States of America, and he was born on this day, June 3rd, 1808, from Fairview, Kentucky, USA. And of course,
and it looks like he could be your cousin.
He could be related to me. So anyway,
I knew exactly
Davis.
Why you wanted to bring that one out.
Yeah, it could be related.
Because you talk about that a lot.
I have talked about it.
Dude, we're all related.
Yeah, sister.
Yeah. That's the thing that, these genealogy type programs, they can really take you down all interesting paths, can't they?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not going to go there.
So he died December 6th, 1889. He was age 81. After the end of the Civil War, he was put into prison. He was imprisoned, and they eventually dropped the treason charges against him. And he was actually wealthy going into the Civil War, and everything was stripped from him.
And that's wrong too, because the Civil War was about states' rights versus
states' rights. It was about states' rights.
It was not about slavery.
It's not about slavery. So anyway, there we go. All right, let's move on.
And the South was right. The the big government needed to stop, and states need to have more power than the big government.
Well, and the Union, they had all the money and the power because of all the factories and all the industrialization and all that money was up north.
But remember, President Lincoln went to the South, and he said, we will let you continue with slavery if you will pay our tax debt, because we really don't care about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay. We're not on that now either, are we?
No.
We're having all these little mini topics.
All right. We have a lot of topics today. Let's jump. We missed a week last week, right? Okay. Jumpstart our brain with some wit for the day to untwist your brain and some points to ponder. So let's talk about an unusual and strange phobias. All right. So do you have
any phobias?
I might have some
Snakes.
phobias. I don't like snakes. I really don't. Oh. So here's one. Tyrannophobia. It's like, and it's, get this, it's panic when tickled by feathers. You know what Sandy's doing? She's going to go get a feather. Look. Okay, panic.
Love the boa.
So that's tyrannophobia. Panic when tickled by feathers. How about this? Pediophobia or pediophobia. You know what that is? It's fear of dolls. Fear of dolls. Some dolls are kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Some dolls are kind of creepy. Of course, they made some movies about some creepy dolls, and now everybody looks at a doll as that doll watching me. And then there was a YouTube thing where they did a camera on a doll, and the doll moved.
Well, Valerie Moody.
That was creepy.
Remember Valerie Moody? When she came the very first time, she was talking to us about that, and talking to us about demonic possession of objects that have the breath. That's why the word says, do not have those objects in your house, in your home. If they've carried breath, don't have them because they can be their gateway.
Yeah, animation. How about this? Russophobia. You know what that is? Yep. Dread of Russians. That's where I think Russia. All of this stuff is all about, they just have Russophobia. How about this? Xenophobia. Fear of the great mole rat. Fear of the great, would you have a fear of a great mole rat?
I don't even know what that is.
Do you like rats?
No.
If you saw a rat, what would you do?
I'd say John.
Do something about that.
I would.
All right. How about this? I don't even, so I'd say consecutelophobia. Consecutelophobia. Fear of chopsticks. Fear of chopsticks. It's a phobia.
Oh, don't give me. Don't give me.
Oh no, don't. Oh, we have some chopsticks in there.
I do.
Keep them in the drawer, please.
But you won't eat with chopsticks, just me.
Well, think about it. A fly with what's his name, Mr. Miyagi, would be fearful.
Mr. Miyagi.
Chopsticks.
Don't eat after Mr. Miyagi. Don't know where those chopsticks have been. All right. How about this? Dendrophobia. Dendrophobia. It's trepidation when amongst trees.
Oh, I love trees.
We don't have enough trees around here, do we?
Mm-mm.
How about this? Dextrophobia. Dextrophobia. Fear of objects at the right side of the body. Okay.
That's so weird. That is such a demonic thing for people to have all this stuff.
Well, for a blind person, I can understand.
Oh,
Or
really?
a visually impaired person, especially if they have that vision missing on that side. But other than that, really?
Yeah. Well, there's a partner to that one. It's called levophobia, which is fear of things to
On
the
the
left
left
side
side.
of the body. So, and then here's one last one we'll do for today, and it's eleutherophobia. Is that how you say it? Eleutherophobia. Strange phobia of freedom.
That makes sense, though. That actually goes with our Torah portion.
Strange phobia of freedom. Yes. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, I thought those are these phobias are very interesting to me, and we can laugh about them. And because Yah has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. So let's keep our minds straight and focused. And when we're dealing with a certain fear or a panic or something like that, just say, "Get thee behind me, Hasatan. I'm not receiving that spirit of fear in the name of Yeshua."
Well, we had our other, we had our other co-host join us.
We did. James Myers. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you all?
Hey, good.
Sorry,
James sent me a text this morning. He had to deal with somebody like me.
Yes, I
Woo!
did.
That's difficult.
I
Insurance.
wish I was dealing with you, though, rather than this guy.
He said, "No, we don't need to replace that roof."
Yeah, he paid for it, but daggone if I didn't have to like beg him and be like, "Come on, look at this. What is this?" It was bad.
Well, I will tell you this. John is really fair and good. John's. If you need adjusted, you want John.
Don't ask
you're
me to.
independent, though, right?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
the difference.
Don't ask me to pay for anything that is not part of the claim, though. I won't do that. But if it's part of the claim, it needs to be taken care of. There you go.
I agree.
All right. Well, hey, we're ready for the Torah portion.
Where I have 4 minutes. Yeah. Okay. I have 4 minutes for the Torah portion. We'll see if there's any commentary.
Well,
I have 4 minutes, Mr. Craig.
all right.
Well,
Way to go, Mr. Craig.
We know that this Torah portion, we've talked about the wilderness. We've talked about being counted. We're going to talk about being counted a little bit more today because I'm going to look at the two words real quickly. Of course, they are the pachad and the shoresh. Both mean count, but they have double meanings. To lift your head, we've talked about that before. Being counted is lifting your head, and to carry, which is very interesting. But why is it so important important that we lift up our heads as the children, as we're counted and lift up our heads. Why? Because there's meaning behind it. It makes you feel value, and everybody wants to be valued in the community, in your community outside of your believing community, but especially inside. But I want us to focus on being counted and community, since we're part of that, because there's several kind of communities, and unfortunately we easily fall into the ones that are bad, not necessarily healthy for the body, because there's a reason that we're called a congregation, that we're called an assembly. Remember, the word synagogue is a Greek word, and church, neither of those words are correct. They actually should have been carried through as congregation or assembly from Genesis to Revelation. So don't get stuck on synagogue and don't get stuck on church, because both of those are really not the Hebrew. Okay, so why do we actually want to be part of a group? Why is that? Because there's something about self-preservation, there's value, there's all sorts of things that are connected in community. And sometimes when we join with a group, there can be issues. There's all sorts of groups. There's groups where there's no cohesion, where everybody's doing their own thing. You're just a bunch of people living together and you still feel isolated and alone. How many believers are out there that can be part of a community and you still feel completely alone? That's not a healthy community. That's not healthy. We're to be counted so that we can come together, so that we can be the body, the congregation of Messiah. So we have so many people that are supposedly part of a community, but they feel so alone and honestly sad, because they're surrounded by people, but yet they're completely alone. There's no connection. There's no purpose for each other. You're just doing your own thing in your own world, and everybody's selfish and doing their own thing. The second part of a failed community, second example of what we don't want to live with, are those who have sense of community that's so pronounced that it squashes every sense of individuality. Man, I don't like to do things like everybody else is. I like to be a little bit different. But you're places where everybody has to look like a drone, where everybody has to do the same thing, think the same way exactly, and where any dissenting opinion is frowned upon. No. That is one good thing, that we are supposed to midrash, and we understand that if we're disagreeing on a thing, it's okay. If we look different than our brother and sister, hallelujah, because he didn't create us as drones. But unfortunately, it's pretty much the way the world wants us to be, or zombies and drones. And sometimes in our own communities, we follow suit. And what that does is that destroys family bonds. Remember, that's why they want to remove children from homes, because they want to take them and do their own thing with them. Lots of stuff with them. That we become more like bricks instead of stones. And of course, what are we supposed to be? We're supposed to be living stones. That's why we rise up and we're counted, so that we can be living stones, that third kind of community that's healthy, where everybody finds a meaning and has a purpose, and we fit together. We look different. We may sound different, but we all fit together with a reason and purpose. And that's how you build his community, his kingdom. That's how we lift up our heads as we're counted. Every individual has a reason and a purpose and a vital role. And because a stone is made smooth when water runs over it, so we are living stones, and the rough edges are smoothed away as we're together. And we're washed with that water of the word, and we're not cookie cutter. And Yahweh wants us not to be drones. He wants us to remember that we're not slaves, that we're not supposed to fear freedom. And that's what the world wants us to do, is to fear freedom. That's what the church wants us is afraid of. They think that there's no freedom and I don't want to get stuck here, because this is the same thing we always say, but they think there's no freedom when you follow the Torah, because it's the law, what they call it, but it's the instruction. What they don't understand is you find more. But I wanted us to focus on the kind of healthy communities and unhealthy communities that are formed, that we can see as we're counted in this Torah portion. What kind of community what do we strive to be? Because we want our unique gifts and capabilities to be used. And that's another thing. We need to be looking for that. When we gather together as a group in any form or fashion, hey, what are you good at? What do you do? What do you love to do? What's your passion? And then figure out a way how that can be used within the community, because Yah has value and purpose for each of us. And we are to be those living stones, but we are to lift up our heads. We are to carry his word forth, and we are to be counted and give him glory. A whole bunch more we can talk about, but I just went 1 minute over my 4 minutes. And now there's no time for commentary, because it's time for the news.
Well, we're going to take a few minutes.
Then you're going to have to cut. You'll have to shut down the news.
We'll see.
No,
Okay.
because James gets his full part.
That's right. James got to have his full part too. So what are y'all's thoughts on there? Joe, what are your thoughts about that Torah portion?
Community.
I agree with you, community, and everybody needs to realize that everybody has a gift and not any gift is below the other gift. They're all balanced. If you have the gift of prayer, that is a gift that's wonderful and can be used in many aspects. If you have the gift of teaching, some people that have the gift of prayer do not have the gift of teaching. Some people have more than one gift, but we do not look down at our brothers because you know what? We are a body and not everybody's a thumb and not everybody is a finger. Not everybody is a toe. Everybody has a function and we are the body of Christ. We are also like a rainbow. The Father put that rainbow up to show Noah, and the rainbow had many different colors, but it was beautiful. And we need to remember that each person is different. There's a different color in every rainbow. And we need to remember that. And we need to show love, kindness, and the whole fruits of the Spirit. And we've discussed that before, and I'm not going to get deep into that, but we need to remember that. And we need to show love and kindness. It's that simple. And support each other because guess what? We're all in his family. We're all siblings for him. And we all should treat each other with love and kindness.
I agree. But don't you see us falling so many times into the two communities? Everybody be like the other or so many feel alone. I mean, we find
yes. And I've done that in my past where, I want to please somebody. I want to act like them because, they're better than me because they can do this, this, and this. And don't do that. Don't do that because God made you unique. There might be somebody out there that is totally blind, but you still read the scriptures and you still seek him out. You still have a gift. Don't sit there and say to the blind person, physically blind, I'm talking about, don't say to them that they don't belong and able to minister because guess what? They may see a lot more than you do. And people forget that. They forget the people that are in wheelchairs and all the people, yes, they're handicapped and I hate that word, but they are dealing with that situation in their life, but they still can do something. And they still have that gift. And there is the gift of teaching. Even moms out there that teach their children, that's a gift that God gave you. And don't let anybody tell you that you're doing it wrong, even when you are homeschooling or home educating your child or reading the scriptures and teaching your child. You're doing it according to his word. That's what matters, period.
Amen. James, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the one thing I learned a while back was, like Sandi was saying, that the word church it's not really a good definition. If you look it up and go to the Greek and see, the word church actually means circus, as crazy as it sounds. But we are a congregation. We're a kahal. We're called to be an assembly of believers who are gathered together and who are gathered together with one head, and that head is Yeshua. And the thing is that if you look at the body today, we're lacking because we've allowed our government to do the things that the body, the assembly, was called to do. We're called to take care of our brothers and sisters out there who don't have food. We're called to not give to the church so that we can build up a building. We're called to give to the community so that we can build up our community, so that we can share his love with everyone that we come in contact with. I don't know, like, I see that where he says that he'll basically restore the tabernacle of David in the last days. And I truly believe in my heart that means he's going to restore the true form of worship, the true assembly, the way it was supposed to be. And the way that the disciples did it in the first century. But are we messing up on a lot of things? Yeah, but I do see the congregation, people are starting to come together, but we got to quit letting people divide us. And that's the biggest problem, is that we are divided by every which way, whether it be skin color, whether it be religion, what denomination, you name it. We've got to come together, one body, one assembly under Messiah Yeshua. All
right. Very good. All right. Well, thank y'all for for your input into that, and Sandi for bringing us the Torah portion today. Appreciate that. Hey, so moving on to the next segment here.
Can you summarize it in a minute?
I'll see what I can do here. And this is an article I found over at zerohedge.com, and it's about UK, the United Kingdom, Foreign Secretary defends torturing journalists, then says we must protect journalists. So he's like saying two different things. And what this article is talking about is how the British Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt, who is, by the way, I think he's trying to run for prime minister over there in Great Britain. And in one speech, he came out and he said that WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, that he defended torturing him. Well, Julian Assange is a journalist, and he's been bringing forth a lot of truth in terms of exposing government corruption and the evils that government's been doing. And so other journalists have actually been going against Julian Assange because he's speaking outside of the narrative. On the other hand, then we get this Jeremy Hunt. He goes and makes another speech within 24 hours, 29 hours later. He says that journalists should not be tortured. And it says, hours after his defense of the torture of a journalist who exposed the truth about the malfeasance of a powerful government, Hunt was giving a speech at the World News Media Congress in Glasgow, praising journalists who exposed the truth about the malfeasance of powerful governments. So which is it, Mr. Hunt? You're speaking outside of both sides of your mouth. And so we've got this hypocrisy that's going on. He says that that's why we have journalism. It keeps government in line and that type of thing. And yet when you have journalists that actually do it, then they want to imprison them and torture them. And right now, I was just looking up some things about Julian Assange. He is in a high security prison, and they've moved him into the medical ward because
he should not be in prison
because his health is failing him. I mean, he wasn't getting any sunlight for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, however long he was in the Ecuadorian embassy. And then he was finally turned over to the British authorities, where all the charges were dropped. But they still went ahead and arrested him because it was all made up charges. They accused him of one thing in Sweden, but it was all trumped up. And they said, now we're not going to pursue it. It's nothing there. And there's nothing that happened. And yet, because he failed to turn himself over originally, he found himself locked up within the Ecuadorian embassy, trying to keep his freedom until he could eventually get out. Now they want to extradite him to the United States, and they want to bring him in for questioning. And we've got this whole dilemma. Julian Assange, what's his crime?
Nothing.
He exposed
the truth.
He exposed the truth. He exposed the corruption of the Clinton Foundation, and he exposed things about pedophilia within the Democratic Party and the leadership and all of that. He exposed a lot. So I just wanted to bring this to the table because there's a lot of things that are going on.
What do you want us to discuss?
Well, about this freedom, here we are. In one sense, we're a voice and we're reporting on different things. We're discussing different topics. We just had this big conference over the weekend where there are people that would want to shut us down for actually trying to bring something to the table and to midrash over these subjects that are affecting our culture, which we live in. And so anyway, what do y'all think? Julian Assange, his whole dilemma that's going on over there, the whole issue about the freedom of speech and the price that journalists need to pay. And do they really want journalists to actually bring truth?
Well, I think we need journalists like Julian Assange that will bring truth and shut the other ones down. But that's all I'm going to say because I know we're short on time.
All right. Yeah. Joe, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I agree with Sandi. If you look at a lot of the media today, they have been taking people off the media because they've been bringing forth things like that judge lady, I can't think of her name, in Fox. She said something and they took her off the air for a while because they didn't agree with her and they didn't like what she had to say. And what it is we're shining the light of truth. They don't want truth. Nobody wants truth. They want to just have everything controlled. It's a control issue is what I believe it is. And we need to stand firm like we did yesterday.
All right. Yeah, very good. James, what are your thoughts about this, all this stuff about the media and freedom of the press and what they're doing to Julian Assange?
I was reading last night the article on the Julian Assange right before I went to sleep, and I look at it this way: if we don't stand up for people like Julian Assange, then guess what? It's going to come to us. It's going to come to our doorsteps. It's just like the people that gave away their guns in Germany. What happened? It eventually came to their own doorsteps. If we don't start standing up and we start speaking out, then this stuff is going to happen to us, and it's going to be like, well, at that time, it's going to be too late. But people like Julian Assange, in my opinion, patriots stand up for things, even no matter what the cost is. And that's what we need to be, a people that stand up for the truth, no matter what the cost.
All right. Yeah, exactly. This article over here at Zero Hedge, it sums up in this final paragraph that I want to read. It says, the liberal democratic values that these self-righteous windbags pretend to promote at their conferences and their summits are neither liberal nor democratic. We are led by smiling sociopaths who are selling us nice guy fascism, a jackboot wearing a coexist button, a smiley face mask covering a hateful blood spattered grimace. That kind of sums it up, because essentially as they don't want freedom of press. They want a controlled press. They want a press that will simply speak what they want them to speak. So there you go. That's kind of an interesting thing. And I pray for Julian Assange. We need to pray for his freedom. We need to pray for his health, and that he will be released. And I think President Trump can have a lot to do with it, because Julian Assange had a lot to do with exposing Hillary Rodham Clinton and who she really stands for. So, all right, James, we're ready for the segment for the Haftorah. Do you have the Haftorah or the Brit Hadashah today?
I'm going to do the Haftorah.
Okay.
The Haftorah today, let me give it to you exactly, because it's Hosea 1:10 through 2:20, or it's Hosea 2:1 through 22. But going through this, as I was reading Hosea, I see that Yahweh is speaking about him being their husband. And it's basically how they went astray and they went away from him. But yet, and they started worshiping other gods. And what the God that they're talking about here is Baal. One of the interesting things that I saw was at least in my Bible, I think it's the KJV, it says that this is 2:16. And it shall be in that day, says Yahweh, that they shall call me Ishi, and they shall no longer call me Balel. And I saw the word Ishi, Ishi, and the concordance, it's 276, and the thing, or 376, sorry. And the thing about that word is that word means man. It can mean husband. It can mean, they've got it as husband here, but the thing is that you look at Yahweh, it says that he will be called Ishi and no longer called Baal. The name the Lord actually in the Hebrew basically it's Baal. It's what it means. He's master. And some people have rendered this, no longer call me master, or they'll call me Ishi. They'll call me husband, no longer call me master. But the thing is that it says that they're going to take the names of Baalim out of their mouth, and they shall no longer be remembered by their names. And every god out there is a form of Hasatan. It's a form of worshiping other gods. It's a form of worshiping anything other than the Creator, the one who's supposed to be worshipped. But the best part I see here is, I will betroth thee unto me, even or forever. Yeah, I will betroth thee unto me in righteousness and in judgment and in loving kindness and in mercies. I will even betroth thee unto me in faithfulness, and thou shalt know Yahweh. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will hear, that saith Yahweh, I will hear the heavens, and they shall hear the earth. But the one thing that I see here is that Yahweh basically says that there was a divorce that happened. And then we go to Deuteronomy. If a man divorces his wife, he can never return to her. Yet God says here that he is going to basically betroth Israel again. How is that? That's because our Messiah came down and died, gave up his life, so that we could be again in a covenant relationship, which was broken. He never broke the covenant. We broke it. We broke it by worshiping other gods. And once he takes us and betroths us, that's why the Messiah came and gave up his life. He came up and gave his life so that we could again be in that covenant relationship with him. Without his death and our death basically being born again, you can't go back into that marriage. At least that's how I've seen it. But the thing is that before this happens, there's going to be a uniting. He's going to bring all his sheep into one pasture. And it says, therefore, I will behold and I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her. That goes right along with our Torah portion, because what happened? They were brought into the wilderness. He tested them. And it says, what does it say? He tested them and he brought them in to do good. But he basically brought them in so that he could bring them into right standing, into the covenant relationship that they were brought into, so that he could be their shepherd and they could be the sheep. And that's what we're called to be. Last, I'll read this one little part. It says, for I know that after the departure, vicious wolves will enter in among you, not sparing the flock. Men will arise from among yourselves, speaking perverse things, to draw away the disciples after them. We've seen that happen. And we've got to remember that we have got to keep our eyes on Messiah Yeshua, because there are wolves in sheep's clothing out there who are preaching another gospel, who are trying to get us to worship the wrong God, to worship the anti-God. But how do we stay on that path? And in my opinion, it's staying as connected as we can to our rabbi, our heavenly rabbi, Messiah Yeshua, and staying in prayer, fasting, and just in community and being assembled together, so that we are constantly reminded of what we're truly here for.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, James. Appreciate that. Joe, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, his sheep know his voice. And, and when he was talking about that, I see the Father standing there as a shepherd, and the sheep have the freedom to go graze anywhere in the boundaries of where the shepherd wants them to graze. But, he took that bondage away from us of death, sin and death. Thank you, Father, for that. But we need to remember to listen to his voice and obey his voice. And that's one thing that we had forgotten. But yet Yeshua came, died, and he broke that bondage of sin and death, which was the divorce papers, is what I see it as. And now we are under the ketubah again. We're under the contract, and now we're waiting for the groom to come take us back.
All right. Yeah, that's good. Sandi, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I like what you were, when we were talking about the boundaries. We've all said, we know we need to follow the commands. We know where we've fallen short, that we've stepped away. But the sheep need to stay within the boundaries, but also we need to not have that slave mentality. We have forgotten who we are in Messiah Yeshua. And we still walk around as slaves. And then we walk around as slaves and then try to get out of the boundary line. And that's always going to lead to death. That's always going to lead to more problems, more sin. And it's always going to get us into trouble. And Yah wants so much more for us as his people, as the sheep of his pasture. We are to know his voice. Absolutely. In fact, sheep can be with a whole bunch of other sheep, and they're still going to recognize the voice of their master and will respond accordingly. Which, do we recognize the voice of the master? That's something we always need to consider, because without relationship, we're not going to. But we need to stay within the boundaries because there's safety there, but there's also freedom. There's a freedom when wow, this is the area I can go. I can go anywhere I want in this area because these are the parameters set. So, I'm safe here, but I must know the shepherd's voice. We must be those living stones in community, sort of tying it to the Torah portion. We've got to become a people that act as community as well as act as individuals at times. We've got to be those people that will go where he goes, do what he does, and say what he says. But sometimes that's uncomfortable. It's not easy to get out beyond our comfort zone. And We need to do what we say, and we just need to do it no matter. And we need to learn those habits. We need to learn and go accordingly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, good deal. James, do you have any last thoughts you want to wrap this up?
Yeah. Lastly, the Devarim 8:16 says, "Who fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your fathers did not know, that he might humble you and that he might test you to do good in the latter end." And if you notice there, it talks about that he brought them in there to humble them, to test them. But it says at the end there, in the latter end, the end times. And that's because there's going to be a second Exodus. There's going to be another time where we're brought into the wilderness, where he opens up basically the sea so that we can, so that we are basically, we're going to go through trials, we're going to go through testing. But the thing is that they're not against us. It's to basically to sharpen us, to bring us back to that right folding relationship with our Messiah. And do we hear his voice? There's many times that I don't, but I do know this, and it's got to be a daily reprieve for us to listen to him, to hear his voice. And we've got to spend time with him to hear him, to know the difference between that one voice in our head, which is not him, and the other one, which is him. And if you don't spend time in prayer and in his word, we won't hear him.
Right. It's exactly right. We have I was kind of joking about, I was locked up in my head earlier this morning when we started the show, and we're kind of joking around about that. But there was one thing that when we have done ministry for deliverance, and one person that we've ministered to, after,
who's a leader, by the way.
Yeah, after
He's strong in the word,
yeah,
and in the Torah.
And after that time of ministry, it was very interesting because this person said,
she always said,
yeah, I'm the only person.
Voice.
I'm the only voice in my head. I'm the only voice in my head. And that's the thing, what you said there, James, is that how many times, and Joe, you were talking about the sheep know my voice. How many times that life gets so built up within us and so many things are happening. And it just seems like there's so many voices, so to speak, that are just echoing and trying to get heard. And all we need to do is get quiet before the Lord. We need to get quiet before Yah and hear and listen. And in that time, we can set things right, set things straight. And then as you started out, Sandi, talking about earlier in the Torah portion, then it's when we're in the presence of Yah is when we're able to lift up our head. That lift up your heads, O ye gates, so that his glory may come in. We've got to lift up our heads because we're not to be a shameful people, a people that are burdened and worn down and pushed down and trodden over, but a people that can walk in the fullness of the very strength and his mercy that he gives us. So very good. Well, hey, that pretty much brings us to the end of the show today. And I appreciate every one of y'all contributing there. Joe for joining us at the last minute, and James for joining us today. And we missed our show last week, and Sandi bringing what you bring. Bringing what you bring.
Sunglasses.
If it wasn't for Sandi, I wouldn't have. It's buy new sunglasses day. All right. So if it wasn't for you, isn't she cute? So you keep me inspired and you keep me on my toes. I'll tell you that. That's what my wife does for me. So what were you going to say?
I was going to say, everybody pray. The church flooded. John told me right before the show. So
that was
the building flooded. The life of worship is flooded.
Why don't we stop and do that now?
So yeah, yes.
Oh, Father, we just thank you for this day, and we thank you for this time to reason with one another and to discuss your word. Father, right now we have a situation where there's flooding in a building, Father. It's a building, and it's a place where your children congregate to praise and worship your name and to learn more about you, Father. Right now, Father, we just pray that everything is going to be removed, Father, that the water is going to go away, Father. There's going to be no damage, Father. And Father, there will be no mold that will grow upon those walls, because this
Right.
property has been dedicated to you,
Hallelujah.
Father. It was dedicated to you by this family, Father. This family that's your children, Father. They dedicated this property, Father. So it's your property. So the enemy cannot infiltrate into this property, not into the bathrooms, Father, or into the congregation area, Father. Not any part of that building will be damaged or harmed, Father, in the name of Yeshua. And it will be cleaned in the time that it needs to be cleaned up, so that, Father, they can congregate again together to glorify your name, worship your name. And through this, Father, more people are going to enter those doors. More people are going to gather. More seedlings are going to come forth, Father. And those seedlings are going to be watered, Father. And those seedlings are going to grow, Father. And those seedlings are going to start to bear fruit, because they're going to become a full-grown plant in your name, Father. And I claim that for the life of worship, Father. And Father, I claim, Father, in the name of Yeshua, that this family unit is going to get back together, completely back together, Father. And you know exactly what I'm saying about this situation, Father.
Hallelujah.
Complete, Father. The child, the grandchild, the father of the grandchild, the mother and the husband, and all will be back in unity, Father, together, physically, Father, and spiritually. And I thank you for what you are doing right now, Father, because you love this family and you love life of worship.
Thank you, Father.
In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, we ask. Amen. And it is done.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I didn't notice it until last evening. There was nothing I could do. I was like, there's nothing I can do tonight. So we got to deal with it today. So appreciate that. And the Father will restore it all. Amen. Well, I just want to say this. Thank you again for joining me as my co-host today, and for everyone that's listening and maybe listening in the archives later on. We appreciate you. Let us know what you think. Give us a thumbs up, and we'll be back next week, y'all willing. And so until next time, this is John Craig with Let Us Reason Together. Shalom.